Welcome to Coffee Commerce. My name is Sean Remit. I'm the grandson of a coffee farmer from Guyana, South America. On Coffee Commerce, we talk not just about business and coffee, but about how coffee has impacted language, society, our culture, and how we think even. The past few episodes, we've been talking about the coffee houses. We talked about how coffee took Europe by storm in Vienna and also in Venice. Venice became the first coffee houses set up in Europe because of the Venetian traders. But not too far behind were the French, and they would become renowned for their coffee. The French were also traders and travelers as well. And there were some French traders and travelers from Marseilles that went to Istanbul, went to the coffee houses, fell in love with it, brought back some coffee. And then in Marseilles, they set up the first coffee houses, and also people from France had their first taste of the beverage. That was around 1660. It wouldn't be too long after that it would arrive in Paris. But there's some parallel stories going on with coffee and France. Around this time too, we have the Sultan of Turkey that was the Turkish ambassador to Paris. He was quite flamboyant, he had lots of great stories, and one of the things that he did was he brought coffee and introduced coffee to the king's court. In doing so, he had introduced not only a beverage, but a culture and a lifestyle that the French would adopt for some time. And you found people wearing the headdresses, leaning and enjoying a cup of coffee. It became a popular thing to enjoy coffee and the culture of the Arabs. One of the challenges that the French had was that they didn't really know how to make a great cup of coffee. So it took an Italian to start his own coffee shop. And at that time, he opened up Café de Procop. That was around 1686. It was an instant success. One of the things that he noticed, it was most popular with playwrights, musicians, artists. As more coffee shops came about, it became a place for high society to go, particularly the women. Quite soon after, the men followed. And with that came a new way of society for Paris, and it became a coffee society. But why did Paris and France adopt coffee and coffee houses in such a quick manner? What was unique about it, and why do we refer to things even today, some 300-400 years later, as the French cafes, which became very popular? It had to do with the French loving to talk. They loved to converse with each other. Before coffee came along, they had wine, they had beer, but that was not really a beverage that they would sit around and have meaningful conversations and be able to discuss affairs of their nation, of the world. So coffee became this drink that you could drink a lot of, and you would not be dulled with your senses. In fact, you would be stimulated and not dulled. So coffee became the thing to do, and it brought about conversation. And in these coffee shops, in these coffee houses, they would attract conversation, they would attract dialogue, they would attract ideas and stories. Many great poets and artists and musicians would use the coffee houses as a place for inspiration because they were places that were buzzing with life, with ideas, stories that they would share with each other. One of the other things about the French cafes was the pastries. And this takes us back to Vienna because the most famous pastry is back in Vienna. And this would become part of the French coffee cafe culture. But that's another story for another cup of coffee. Thank you.